You know, I suck at timing. Because today we're looking at an X570 motherboard. Hello and welcome. Today we're actually looking at the motherboard that's going to be going into my test system. I essentially had a short list of features that I really wanted for the test system, and unfortunately the motherboards that gave that option, well, they broke $250 pretty regularly. And so I decided, when I saw this one was actually in stock and the other ones that I was looking at were not, well, I'm gonna pull the trigger on it. And I'm kind of glad that I did, because this motherboard is again sold out. So yeah. Today, we're taking a look at the ROG Crosshair Formula 8 Hero Edition. This is pretty much the most expensive X570 motherboard that you probably should buy. Any motherboard more expensive than this actually will have features that involve high-end water cooling on VRMs. And while I would like to eventually test one of those out, the current setup for the test system really is not going to be conducive for VRM water cooling. But in the future, when we eventually upgrade our test bed, it might be something that I'll take a look at to see if we can further control our variables going into CPU test. So our packaging is pretty flashy. It's pretty becoming of a motherboard of this cost. It's got a slight holographic effect going. You know, we've got our AMD 50th anniversary badge, even though that was really last year, and this motherboard was definitely manufactured in this year. AMD Ryzen, AMD AM4 X570, AMD Crossfire, NVIDIA SLI, AuraSync, Game First, which I don't remember this motherboard having Wi-Fi, but might. Node, Asus Node. I'm actually, again, not 100% sure what that one is. We'll take a look at that later. And PCIe 4.0, because this is an X570 motherboard. These sides continue the branding, looking all holographic and pretty and stuff. It gives you a bunch of languages, and then of course it says this, the choice of champions. I don't know what type of champions this motherboard would be for, but apparently it is the choice of champions. And then the actual unboxing is pretty straightforward. There's no saran wrap when you buy it either. It pretty much just comes like this, and then you just, whoa, and just like that, you've got a motherboard. Now, cool things, this is actually the same packaging that the Hero 7 had, because I actually own a Hero 7 as well. Some big things of note though, there is a lot of metal on this. I have not even picked this thing up yet to see how heavy it is, but VRMs over the heatsink, the IO cover shield, all this stuff looks a bit beefier than it does on the Crosshair Formula 7. We've got a lot of peels on here too. So I guess the only thing we can do now, pick her up. Wow, that is a thick PCB actually. Now let's take a quick look at our accessories. We've got a disc that appears to be some sort of AMD support BIOS. It's a DVD actually. Comes with a, hey, you guys stole that one from MSI. That's a badge. That's like an actual case badge to throw on there. Pretty cool. We got a welcome to the Republic of Gamers. Yeah. Cable mod discount. I'm actually gonna need this one. Because yeah, I actually intend to use more cable mod mods. Cable mod mods? Mods. We've got a coaster. Now, I ragged on this when I did the Crosshair Formula 7 unboxing, and I used the coaster so much that eventually I actually ruined it. So it's going back on my desk again. We got some stickers, it looks like. They got scuffed up at some point. Book of stickers. We got some actual, these are SATA labels, which is actually really nice to have. These actually are pretty awesome stickers for those who dare, Republic of Gamers. I'm not going to use these because they're kind of, you know, just not my style anymore, but like, they're kind of cool. They actually have a nice reflectiveness to them. We got our user manual, which I will thumb through to figure out what the heck Asus Note is. And contact information. Oh, nope, I would be wrong. Oh, so we've got, looks like it is a type of RGB header thing. Are you an extension cable for an RGB? Yeah, you are. Extension cable for RGB. Another extension cable. This one is addressable 5 volt to something unusual, maybe like an Asus specific. A bag, it looks like 4 different SATA cables, 290 and 2 straight angle ones. The Q board, which is something that they use, it's essentially just like a little like pin out thing. You just connect your case to that and then this to the motherboard. I've actually used them in the past. I don't dislike them. And then .2 screws. So we're gonna put that all back in there. So we've got a full backplate already installed, an IO shield already installed over the USB ports, which has a lovely little peel. On the back here, we actually have a lot of high-speed ports. This is one of the big benefits of X570 over the B450. We've got all of these USB, none of them are USB 2.0. We have both a 2.5 gigabit and gigabit. That's probably where the game first features will come in. A full Type-C port. This is USB Gen 3.2, you know, the nice cool one. Right here, BIOS reset and clear CMOS. These are both very, very useful. All right, looks like we got another peel here, guys. So underneath here is actually a piece of shielding and a bit of a heat sink for the audio chips and drivers on here. It's really just mostly decorative, but your audio card would be right underneath here. On here though, and these are the features that I was looking for, we've got a power reset button built right into the motherboard. We've got a postcode LED, which is very useful for troubleshooting. We've got a slow mode, which this allows you to essentially just flip this switch and have it sort of boot a little bit slower in case you want to tweak with the BIOS. Very useful for overclocking itself. Oh my goodness, look at all these VRMs. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 phase VRM on this bad boy. Again, overclocking. Of course, we've got our chipset fan right over here because X570 actually requires active cooling, and looking at this IO, I can understand why. We also have a front panel USB-C connector right here. We've got plenty of fan headers over here. Some more down over here. Some over here by where usually your CPU fan would plug into. Actually, your CPU fan is supposed to be up here because this is actually these up here are specially designed for liquid cooling. So it's actually 2 different fan headers plus a pump header. So if you have an AIO, this would be exactly how you would plug that in most of the time. But there's a separate fan header down here that's usually for the fans that are at the back of the case. Of course, it's X570, so we've got full speed PCIe X16, and these are PCIe 4.0 ports. Actually, everything on here should be PCIe 4.0 minus these 2 at the end. We also do have, let me open that up, this fairly large M.2 slot, which is to be used, I believe this one's for the SATA variant. And then we actually went underneath here to get the peel off. And we also have this, which this one is our PCIe 4.0 slot right here. So this is the big one. This one handles the fastest drives. Of course, it has the thicker heatsink, also the more decorative one. So there's those. We also have 2, 4, 6, 8 SATA connectors, USB 3.0 connector for the front panel over here. This over here is actually kind of cool. This is a flow indicator, which is actually used specifically for liquid cooling and high-end liquid cooling. We also have a temperature probe sensor right over here as well. And then this is also an additional pump header. So this one actually has a secondary pump header than this one right here, which is actually very nice. We also have a couple of USB 2.0 ports. This is that node port that Asus is so proud of. We have a dedicated safe mode button and a boot retry button. Interesting. Nice little buttons there. Again, these are all features that are made for exactly what we will be doing with this system, which is testing things and why I really wanted it. Now it looks like our poor RGB header has been smashed in a little bit, or it might have just been picked and placed that way. We've got both a 5 and a 12 volt, and they are labeled here, and they are labeled over here as well. So that's good to see. For the most part, you can break out those connectors into however many connectors you need. And yeah, essentially you'll see that this board is just filled with so many features going all around it. Honestly, it does feel a bit more premium than the last generation motherboard, but to really test it, we're gonna have to drop a CPU in here, get some RAM in there, plug it in, and yeah, let's actually take a serious look at this once we get everything on here. We're gonna actually be using the stock cooler for now, but once this test system's actually fully up and running, well, we're gonna go ham with this thing, because this motherboard should allow us the best possible performance on Ryzen. Okay, so we got it to post. Now we're gonna go ahead and actually put it into the case proper, because why the heck not? It's the safest place for the motherboard, to be completely honest. And then I'll be right back after we're done doing that, and it is done. Honestly, I really love this motherboard. It looks pretty awesome. I had no problems with it whatsoever. It posted first try. No real issues whatsoever. I've already got it set to the correct standard, and honestly, I haven't heard a peep out of the system since I booted it. Now, we do have to wait a little bit before I can actually get into Windows, because I still don't have the hard drives for the system, but I really needed to post-check this just to make sure that everything was good before we go ahead and do the final build, which will be a little while from now. Either way, I do think that this is a bit of a step up in quality from the previous version, the 7. That being said, I don't know if it's necessarily worth the full amount that Asus is charging over that, because a lot of the features that we're going to have to test are going to be inside Windows, and unfortunately, currently, I cannot install Windows on the system until I get a drive for it. So, we'll be back for a more in-depth and in-detail look at it at a later date, but this was just kind of our introduction to it. And honestly, I can't wait to actually get a liquid cooler on there, and maybe even some of those sensors that the motherboard actually has that are completely unique to it. So, yeah. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, you can leave a like, comment, subscribe. I do content like this all the time. In fact, if you wait just a couple more days, I've got another video specifically about that case coming out. So, thank you guys again. Wolfie, out.